Yeah, right. So I think in the Ba'ath Party archives, I'll just explain briefly. So these are government, it's the memos and the paperwork of the ruling party. But what was interesting to me is that anything that kind of ordinary citizens sent, well, the bureaucrats in the Ba'ath Party saved it and put it in the archive. And so I was so amazed to find all of these letters that were written by kind of ordinary Baghdadis that were written. A lot of them were written to maybe Tariq Aziz or to Saddam Hussein, or, to someone in the inner circle. But also there were other ones that were written to their local, the Furqa, the local neighborhood Ba'ath Party office, and kind of everyone in between. So just any letter written to anyone in the Ba'ath Party was saved in the archive. And these were such a treasure. I mean, like just this amazing insight into like what real people were saying and thinking and how they interacted with the regime. But of course, if you're going to write a letter to someone in Saddam Hussein's dictatorship, you don't just write it casually. Like this is high stakes because the government has instilled so much fear in people and has so much power that you have to be really careful. And so I was actually amazed that people felt sort of brave to write anything. Um, and so a lot of people wrote their letters to be very flattering, and so they would say, Mr. President, the warrior, the leader for our faith, the mujahid, the father of all Iraqis, may, God protect and preserve you, all of which I expected. I mean, you're kind of like, yeah, that's probably the way people would feel safe talking to the regime. But you're right. Like some people would write letters, not even asking for anything, just to sort of show, to perform, to demonstrate their loyalty. And that's the term gesture politics, where this person doesn't explain why they're doing it, but probably there's something going on that's making them feel like maybe they or their family is coming under some doubt or some scrutiny. There's some reason why they feel the need to go above and beyond and name their children after Saddam's children, right? Or to write a poem to Saddam with their own blood. So I interpret this as someone who wants to secure the idea that they and their family are loyal. And why does someone do that? Well, probably because there's some suspicion somewhere, even if they don't explain that.
Yeah, because of fear. That's correct, but you also mentioned the language of citizens. And the reason why this chapter was important to me, yeah, it was like in North Korea, I've heard someone who got out of it say that language is a way to control people, and also in the book 1984 by George Orwell, it's a big way to control how people think. So the concept of freedom instills the ideas of freedom, right? um in this chapter I saw that there are people who wrote petitions in a way that they believed in their rights. So it started with I am the citizen Fatma, I am the citizen Sarah, but there is also a supplicant language of people begging and worshiping Saddam in the beginning of the letter, and then saying that. So how does that balance come, you know?
Yeah, so yeah, as I was mentioning, I'm like it felt expected to me when I saw people act like a supplicant. Yeah, and that's the phrase that I use in the book where they are begging, they are pleading, they are flattering. And I that to me I completely can understand and empathize with because of the absolute power that Saddam had and the fear people had and wanting to feel like they're saying everything right. But then what was fascinating to me was that, so I looked at about 100 letters in detail, all written by people in Baghdad. About a third of them used a very different kind of language that was much bolder, much more straightforward. And as you mentioned, was talking about their rights. And so I was like, oh, people could talk back to the regime sometimes or in certain topics, right? In certain areas. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that people could be forceful. So that was teaching me a lot about also like how smart and strategic Iraqis were. Like they understood exactly where the line was. If you were complaining that your rations agent was actually stealing from you, well, actually, the government did want to get that rations agent in trouble. They actually were interested in going after them. So it was interesting. Like, there were these times when Iraqis could really advocate for themselves forcefully and sometimes even get a positive response from the government.
So, can we say the rations, sorry, the petitions were a form of surveillance, not just for who was working in the Ba'ath Party and under the Ba'ath Party, but like for the people?
Yeah, so it helped to even the power imbalance. And actually, petitions have worked this way a long time. Like, even in the Ottoman period, you would have peasants write petitions to the Sultan saying your local governor is corrupt because, again, like the sultan actually wants to know that, like, know if people are abusing power under his rule. So they're kind of using an old form of political grievance, but one that Saddam even publicly encouraged. So there were times when he gave speeches and he said publicly, he's like, the purpose of petitions is so that he can keep an eye on low ranking officials. And he actually complained. He has this really funny note in his speech where he says, I don't want to hear from housewives. I don't want to hear from housewives who are just complaining that their bread's expensive. He's like, I'm the president. I don't have time to deal with that. Although actually that's what a lot of people were writing about. They were writing about like very ordinary concerns. So people didn't take his advice. But he said, I don't care about the housewives complaining on the phone and they think the president has nothing else to do but look into this. He's like, what I want to know is if any low-ranking officials are being corrupt. That I want to know. And so it was a form of surveillance internally because as much as the government under Saddam is spying on the people, they are making sure to spy internally too. That's why there's so many different militias. That's why there's Ba'ath Party representatives everywhere who are being asked to inform on each other. I mean, when you're a dictator, I think you have to be paranoid that someone is going to want to overthrow you, whether that's the people or someone even in your own government. So Saddam was paranoid and had a lot of spies everywhere, but including asking the people to spy on not just their neighbors, but to spy on low ranking officials.